Happy Thursday. I'm here with a short episode today to talk about what does it mean when you're next. So you're coming up. In my case, it's coming up in my family. I know that as the oldest, there's expectations around what my role's going to be in the family limited partnership. Maybe you're coming up in your family business. You're going to lead. Maybe you and your siblings are going to lead together. There's so many different scenarios, but this idea or context of you're next, and what does this mean? So I remember the first time my dad started talking to me about his estate and the plan and what all of that was going to look like. And really, it felt like a compliment in the moment, like, oh, you trust me, you think I can do this thing. And then it suddenly felt really overwhelming. It felt like something I didn't quite know how to answer. How exactly did I feel about it? What exactly was it going to mean to me? What are all the things that I didn't know or already understand about this? A lot of times when you know that something's coming up or you're going to take over eventually, or my parents about to retire, or whatever that looks like, it just doesn't feel like there's a roadmap. It doesn't feel like there's a plan. We don't have a conversation. We don't really know where things are going. There's just kind of this expectation that we're going to do it, and we're going to like it, and it's going to keep working the same way that it always has been. And so really a lot of times when someone says you're next, that is a phrase that can land a little bit heavy, and it rarely comes with clarity. So today I wanted to go over just a couple myths, a couple questions to help you think about sort of what does being next look like for you? What do you really want? A few stories, and then a little bit about how kind of in our work we can really help successors and rising gens think about what's next. So the first myth that we hear is that you're going to know what to do when the time comes. Like just someday the keys are going to be handed to you and the business is yours and you're going to figure that out. That's definitely not true. I think a lot of times it's two sides of the coin, especially in business transition. Either you've been in the business for so long and you have someone in the current leading generation that just isn't getting out of the way, and you haven't really had a chance to step up and figure out what next looks like. On the flip side of that, you could feel a little bit of pressure or, ooh, I don't really know what's coming up next, or to know what I don't know, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so, yeah, really myth number one, you'll know what to do when the time comes. Like, you don't need to put pressure on yourself. There's a lot of stuff to work through. The process does not have to be fast. And so if you're kind of sitting and wondering what the future looks like, just an invitation to sit in that curiosity a little bit, because there's not an expectation of you that you're going to know how everything is going to work out. The second myth, you have to do it just like they did. That's also not true, because you're a different person. Your skills are different. Your experience is different. Maybe the places you worked before you came back to the business, the way that you're wired, your natural personality, the way you like to show up in the world. So we do a lot of IMAP assessments with families. That's really about figuring out what each person is really strong at, what they're good at, and what their strengths are going to be, and potentially what their blind spots and things that they really have to work on would be as well. So a lot of us are thinking about the future. We're thinking about coming up in the business, and really we're thinking about inheriting this business. Most of us are inheriting the legacy of the business or the legacy of family wealth. We're not inheriting a leadership manual. And so you don't have to do things in the way that the people did before you. So just a couple of quick questions for you to think about when you look towards the future. We want to start with, what do I actually want? Like, what's important to me personally when I think about my life 5 years from now? What do things look like? So for me personally, I'm thinking about, I want to be able to have breakfast with my daughter in the morning. She just turned 1. I want to be able to go on date nights with my husband and go on vacations a couple times a year and not have to be kind of tied to a certain vacation policy. And so all of these things that I thought through that were important to me really led itself to, well, maybe I should be an entrepreneur because that would give me some of the flexibility that I need. And so when you're evaluating, do I even want to go into the family business? Like they said that I'm next. Is this even the right next step for me? Figuring out what you actually want is really important. And then we can even extrapolate that. What's important to me as a person, if you have a partner or a spouse, what's important to us as a couple, what do I perceive as important to them? What is important to our family? So that would be if you have any kids, and then extended family, siblings, parents, and then you could even think grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles. Really, you get to define what family is for you. That could even be chosen family that you want to take care of. And then depending on where you're at in the leadership, where do you see this business going? What do you want for the employees? What do you want for the successors? When we do work, we're having not only the current generation write these things down, but also the successors. Because the most successful part of a transition is that there is a transition and both parties want it. Because if you are not in and you're not interested, it's really hard to transition. And that's not good for everyone. So we need to know that early. But if you have conviction, like, yes, this is the right path for me, I want to continue in the business, I want to figure out what this looks like, then there's probably questions that come up. Am I allowed to change things? What does that look like? How do I show up authentically to myself? Who do I need to be to lead well or to take this company to the next stage or grow it or whatever that looks like, but still be authentic to myself so that I am not feeling pigeonholed into doing the exact same thing that the people before me did. So being next does not mean that you're going to be a clone of the people who came before you. You have to be authentic to yourself. You have to do your own thing. So I'm thinking about this a lot in the context of the transition strategist, where I'm the successor. There's been the way that the company has always done things, right? And I'm trying to honor and I'm trying to look at our programs and the way that we've done things. But I'm also trying to innovate and bring things in that I know are going to support us and really move us to the future. And so I don't want to be a clone and just keep doing the same things. I need to be authentic to myself, but also look forward and kind of honor this. People think, oh, it's so easy. Like you have a family business or you're inheriting a business from someone else. Like that must mean that your life is so easy and everything is so good. Like you're so privileged. You can hear these things and know that they're not true, because this is actually a really hard path to step into a family business that has the legacy, that has the family ties, that has the relationships and everything that is so tricky around family. This is not easy. There's a lot of work that you and everyone else has to do on themselves and also the entities of the transfer. So know that it's not the easy path at all. Lastly, I just want to close with this context and this thought around there's some next gens that you talk to that are just waiting for permission that never comes, or waiting for a chance that never comes. And if you're next and you haven't had a conversation yet about what that looks like, and a roadmap or a timeline or something would help you feel like you're pushing towards the future and there's clarity here and we're moving forward and suddenly you have a direction or something that you're working towards, it's okay to ask and to push on the current generation. And there's ways to do that without them thinking that you're entitled. Because really what you're doing is you're being a steward of what's next. When you make an ask, hey, I'm interested in building a roadmap. Hey, I'm interested in building a timeline. I really want to do this thing. What could we do to have this conversation together? Like, I know that you've worked really hard on this business. There's probably something else for you where you're going to spend some of your time. How do we talk together about what that future would look like? So if you're stuck on that, I could probably do a whole episode on how do we actually bring up the conversation and talk about what the future looks like for the first time, especially if you're a successor and you're approaching the business owner or your parent or the person kind of leading the current generation in the company currently. That's hard. So please just send me a note on Instagram or send me an email, Andrea@transitionstrategist.com, if that brought up a question for you, like, hey, how could I talk about this? Or I never even thought about kind of doing this. Really, the work that is our process is making sure that everyone's on the same page, because where transitions start to fail and break down, and where I see successors get so frustrated, where I'm frustrated, even in my own transition, is when there's lack of timeline. Like, is it going to happen 4 years from now? Is it going to happen 10 years from now? The way that I design my life, and if I'm going to have more kids, and if I'm going to go on the vacation, or how hard I'm going to work, or how many hours I'm going to put in, or who we're going to hire and who's going to be on my team. All of those things hang off of what is the timeline? How soon am I going to be a majority owner? What does that look like? So the moment that you stop waiting and you start having a conversation, you start engaging, that's when the transition is going to start to get real. Or at least you'll start to put some parameters around a roadmap and thinking about the future. So to close this one off, really being next is your chance to build with intention. You get to be the author of what comes next. And so what do you want next to mean? I think as a successor, you have the opportunity to drive the conversation, to push towards building a roadmap. And you don't have to be alone in navigating that. Find yourself peers, or I'm also happy to be a resource for you as you start to think about what does even designing the future of this family business and this transition and starting a conversation look like for me. So know that you're not alone, and you don't have to earn the right to lead like yourself and to be authentic to yourself just because you're in a family business or a successful family. You are worthy as you are. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, I would love a 5-star review, or just any feedback. Just shoot me a note. I'd love to hear what resonated with you so I can do more of that content. Have a good one.